All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a closer look at Scaachi Koul's Sucker Punch. Now, chances are you might have already read it,
Yeah.
but we've got this fantastic review that really goes deep. It unpacks all the nuances, and I think it's going to give you a whole new way of looking at the book.
Oh, for sure. The reviewer picks up on things you might not have noticed on the first read. They actually call it a tour de force, which I think is
Yeah.
pretty spot on, especially seeing how Koul manages to blend her sharp wit, that signature style, with some really insightful social commentary.
It is a tour de force, for
But,
sure. What I find really interesting is how the reviewer points out that her conversational, almost casual style, the one we're used to from her other work, it's actually super deliberate. It's
uh,
like she's using that wit and humor to make some of these heavier topics like a little bit easier to grasp.
Absolutely. It's like she's inviting you into a conversation rather than, like, lecturing you, which can be really disarming, especially when she's talking about these complex issues like color blindness. Right.
Right.
And the reviewer even mentions how she uses her own experiences with dating apps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who hasn't been there
Yeah.
to unpack that whole concept?
Exactly. And that's one of the things Koul does so well. She takes these really abstract, kind of heady concepts and grounds them in her own personal experiences, which
Mm.
just makes them so relatable.
Oh, totally. It's not just theory. It's her life.
Yeah.
And you're right there with her as she's navigating these tricky situations. And honestly, one of the biggest things that comes through in all of this is this whole idea of power,
Yeah.
privilege, and resistance. The review talks about how Sucker Punch doesn't shy away from these kind of controversial topics.
And I think it goes beyond just like talking about them. It's like she's giving you a framework for understanding how these power dynamics actually work, especially for women of color.
Right.
Essays like Breaking the Mold and Unlearning Obedience, they really dig deep into how societal expectations can be so limiting.
And it's not just about identifying the problem either. What I find really interesting is how Koul empowers you to push back against those limitations.
Yeah.
She's not just pointing fingers.
Right.
She's offering these strategies for resistance, both personally and on a societal level.
And she does that by being so vulnerable, right? I mean, she talks about her own struggles with family pressure,
Yeah.
with discrimination in the workplace, even like internalized bias. It's like she's saying, hey, look, I'm figuring this out too, and here's what I've learned along the way.
I think that vulnerability is key to her effectiveness. It makes her argument so much stronger because you can see that she's not judging, she's speaking from experience.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another key theme. The reviewer highlights technology's impact on humanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fascinating how Koul, having grown up alongside the rise of the internet, offers such a nuanced perspective on this.
It's like she had a front row seat to the whole digital revolution and all its consequences. The reviewer specifically mentions her critique of performative online activism, which I think we can all relate to.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to get caught up in hashtags and likes, thinking we're making a difference when really we might just be stuck in an echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
But Koul challenges us to move past those superficial forms of engagement and really think about what meaningful action actually looks like.
And the way she calls out that digital slacktivism in essays like hashtags don't save lives, it's so on point.
Yeah.
It's like she's reading our minds.
Totally. And then there's her exploration of AI, artificial intelligence, in essays like The Future is Now. The review points out how she asks these really thought-provoking questions about privacy, consent, even accountability
Right.
in a world where technology is becoming more and more integrated into our lives.
Yeah, it's kind of unsettling to think about all the data we just hand over online. Koul really makes you question the implications of that and the power we're giving to these tech companies. It's something we all need to be more aware of.
Definitely. And it's not just about awareness, it's about taking action too. Koul encourages us to be critical consumers of technology, to be mindful of its influence on our lives, and to demand more accountability from those who are shaping our digital future.
So we've talked about these big societal issues, but the review also points out that Sucker Punch doesn't shy away from getting personal.
Hmm.
It dives into the complexities of relationships, love, family, friendships, and Koul just lays it all out there with that signature blend of humor and vulnerability we've been talking about.
Right. The reviewer highlighted essays like Love in the Time of Algorithms and Family Ties as perfect examples of how she does that.
Yeah.
In Love in the Time of Algorithms, she explores the challenges of finding genuine connection in a world dominated by swiping left and right, which, let's face it, a lot of us can relate to.
Definitely. And then in Family Ties, she tackles those tricky dynamics within immigrant families. the clash between tradition and modernity, the growing generational gaps.
Yeah.
It's something I've personally grappled with, and Koul's honesty and humor made me feel so seen, you know?
That's what's so great about her work. She manages to find the universal within the specific. She's talking about her own experiences, but she's tapping into those shared human experiences that connect us all,
Right.
regardless of our backgrounds.
Okay, so let's dive into some of the standout essays that the reviewer mentions.
Yeah.
One that I found particularly insightful was The Myth of Meritocracy. It's like Koul takes this idea that success is solely based on hard work and just completely dismantles it.
Oh, she does. She exposes how privilege plays a huge role in shaping opportunities, often in ways we don't even realize. The reviewer points out how she uses examples from her own career to illustrate how things like class, race, and gender create these uneven playing fields.
Right, and it's not about pointing fingers or blaming individuals. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing those systemic barriers that exist and how they impact people's lives in very real ways.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging those complexities and having those tough conversations about what true equality really looks like.
Then there's digital echo chambers, which feels especially relevant today with how polarized everything online has become.
Mhm.
The reviewer talks about how this essay explores how algorithms and these online platforms can actually reinforce our existing beliefs and make those divides even deeper.
It's almost like we're trapped in these bubbles where we only see information that confirms what we already think.
Yeah.
And Koul argues that instead of fostering open dialogue, platforms like Facebook and Twitter actually amplify those extreme voices, pushing those more moderate perspectives to the sideline.
It's definitely something to be mindful of, especially with the way misinformation spreads online these days. You need to be more critical of the information we're taking in and actively seek out diverse perspectives.
Absolutely.
Uh,
It's so easy to get caught up in that echo chamber and forget that other viewpoints even exist.
Okay, so the last essay the review highlights is Reclaiming Joy. After all these heavy societal issues, you might be feeling a bit, overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But this essay, it's like a powerful antidote to despair. It reminds you that resistance can also be about finding those moments of beauty and joy in everyday life. It's like, yeah, the world's messed up, but we can still find ways to thrive.
And that message of resilience is so important, especially now. Reclaiming joy is a reminder that even in the face of challenges, we can choose joy, find beauty in connection, and celebrate our own resilience.
So we've talked about the strengths of Sucker Punch, but the review also brings up some potential critiques, and I think they're worth considering.
Absolutely. Looking at things from multiple perspectives is always important.
Right.
For instance, some readers might find that some essays are kind of repetitive, with Koul going back to similar themes or arguments. Repetition can be powerful for emphasis, but sometimes it can feel a bit redundant.
Yeah, some people might feel like she's overdoing it. But I wonder if that repetition could also be seen as a strength, Maybe it's her way of really driving home those crucial points,
Right.
making sure they stick with the reader. What do you think?
That's a good point. It could be intentional emphasis, or it could be a lack of thematic development,
Right, and I think that's where individual interpretation comes in. Some might find it repetitive, others might appreciate that reinforcement. It's really up to the reader to decide how they feel about it.
Yeah.
And speaking of individual interpretation, another critique the review mentions is Koul's tone, which can be a bit cynical sometimes.
Yeah, there's definitely a sardonic edge to her writing, which, given the state of the world, is understandable,
Right.
but some readers might find it a little too pessimistic.
Yeah, but you could also argue that her willingness to face those harsh realities head on, that's what makes her work so powerful, right? It's that unflinching honesty we were talking about.
Oh, totally. It's about challenging the status quo and pushing us to confront uncomfortable truths, which can be jarring for some, but it's also super thought-provoking.
Okay, so before we move on, I wanted to touch on the broader impact of Sucker Punch. The review calls it incredibly timely.
Yeah.
Like it really captures the current moment.
It's true. Published in 2025, it reflects a lot of the anxieties and complexities of our time. Rapid technological advancement, growing inequality,
Yeah.
and this heightened awareness of social justice issues.
Mm-hmm.
Koul's observations and critiques feel super relevant to the challenges we're facing as a society.
It's like she's holding up a mirror to our collective anxieties, forcing us to confront them head on. And her work also adds to these ongoing conversations about representation and diversity in literature.
Oh, absolutely.
As a queer woman of color, Koul brings a unique perspective, amplifying voices that are often marginalized or silenced.
By sharing her own experiences and those of her community, she challenges us to broaden our understanding of the world and recognize just how diverse human experiences really are.
Right. And I think that's what makes Sucker Punch so powerful. It's not just about reading and absorbing information. It's about engaging with those ideas, discussing them, and using them to inform our actions.
Hmm.
It's about turning reflection into action.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it's just the beginning. We really encourage you to check out Sucker Punch for yourself, to immerse yourself in Koul's words, and to find the insights that resonate most with you.
Yeah. But before we jump into part two, I had a question for you. Has Sucker Punch changed how you view online activism? And if so, how?
That's a great question. Definitely something to think about.
Hold on to that thought, and we'll see you back here for part two, where we'll delve even deeper into Sucker Punch.
So welcome back to our deep dive into Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
Before we get into some more of the book's highlights, I wanted to pick up on that last point we were talking about, the idea that, even though Koul's personal experiences as a South Asian woman are so central to her writing, the themes she explores, they have this really broad appeal.
Oh, absolutely. The reviewer actually mentioned that, even though her experiences as a South Asian woman in North America are obviously what inform her perspective, the stuff she's talking about, navigating identity, societal expectations, finding connection in this digital age,
Yeah.
those are things that resonate with a lot of people.
Exactly. Whose specific experiences might not be universal, but the way she unpacks these broader themes of identity, belonging, connection, it's something that so many people can relate to,
Yeah.
no matter their background.
It's like she's tapping into the human experience, the
Yeah.
shared struggles and triumphs that connect us all. And by doing that, she's challenging those traditional notions of what makes a story universal, you know?
Exactly. It's about expanding that definition and creating space for more diverse perspective.
Right.
And Sucker Punch is such a good example of how powerful that can be.
Yeah.
It shows us that stories that feel deeply personal can have a profound impact on others.
Yeah, it's about feeling seen, feeling understood, like someone out there gets it. And that kind of brings us to another point. The review made the book's potential to spark these really important conversations, right?
Oh, totally. Koul doesn't just present these ideas and leave you hanging. She really encourages you to think critically and actually engage with the world around you.
Yeah.
It's like she's giving you this toolkit for understanding these really complex issues, and then she's like, okay, now go out there and do something.
It's about taking ownership of your own beliefs and actions, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the true power of Sucker Punch lies. It's not just about passively reading. It's about actively engaging with the ideas, discussing them with others, and using them to shape your own choices and behaviors.
Exactly. It's about turning reflection into action.
Yeah.
And that's something we could all use a little more of, especially in a world that feels increasingly divided.
Totally. We've seen how Koul challenges those easy answers, right?
Yeah.
And encourages readers to actually grapple with those uncomfortable truths.
She makes you look at things from different angles, challenge your own assumptions.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to real growth, both individually and as a society.
It's about embracing the complexities, understanding that there's not always a simple solution.
Right.
And I think Sucker Punch does an amazing job of modeling that kind of nuanced thinking.
It's not about dictating what people should think, but about getting them to think more deeply and be open to other perspectives.
Right.
It's about fostering that sense of curiosity
Yeah.
and encouraging these meaningful conversations.
And speaking of that, let's move on to some more specific examples of how Koul does this.
Okay.
One thing I loved about Sucker Punch was how she tackles this whole idea of finding joy and connection amidst all these really heavy topics.
Absolutely. It would be easy for a book like this to feel super bleak, given what she's talking about.
Right.
But Koul manages to bring in this sense of humor
Yeah.
and even hope into her writing, even when she's dealing with tough issues.
Yeah, it's like she's reminding us that even in the darkest times, there's still beauty to be found. There are reasons to laugh.
Yeah.
There are still connections to be made. And those moments of joy and connection can be acts of resistance in themselves.
Exactly. It's about finding those glimmers of hope and holding on to them,
Yeah.
even when things feel difficult.
Okay, so let's talk about a few specific essays the reviewer highlights.
Okay.
One that really stuck with me was The Art of Ghosting. It's hilarious, her take on ghosting in the digital age,
Oh, yeah.
But it also goes deeper, exploring the anxieties and insecurities that drive that behavior.
Totally. And she uses her own experiences with being ghosted and ghosting others to illustrate those points.
Hmm.
It's relatable
Yeah.
and makes you rethink the ethics of ghosting.
Right. It's not just a funny story, it's a commentary on how we communicate or don't in this digital age, and how those patterns of avoidance can be really harmful to our emotional well-being.
And then there's the essay, The Tyranny of Choice, which I found super thought-provoking.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's all about how having so many choices in modern life can actually lead to paralysis and dissatisfaction.
It's like that feeling of endlessly scrolling through Netflix, you know?
Yes.
You can't decide because there are just too many options.
Exactly. And Koul argues that this tyranny of choice can actually make us unhappy. We're so focused on finding the perfect thing that we end up feeling anxious and not good enough, even though we have more choices than ever before.
It's the paradox of choice, right? More isn't always better.
I think that's a really important point. And I love how Koul challenges us to rethink our relationship with choice, to find ways to simplify our lives without giving up the things that really matter.
Yeah, it's about being more intentional with our choices and focusing on what brings us joy and fulfillment rather than chasing perfection.
And that message connects so well with the broader themes of Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
It's about finding your voice, embracing who you are, and navigating this crazy modern life with intention and purpose.
Okay, and then there's the essay on being unlikable, which is both funny and really insightful.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about the pressure, especially on women, to be likable and agreeable, even if it means sacrificing their authenticity.
She talks about how women are judged more harshly for being assertive or speaking their minds, and she encourages us to reject those expectations and, just embrace our unlikability.
Right. It's about recognizing that being likable shouldn't come at the cost of your integrity or your voice.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is be yourself,
Yeah,
even if it means not everyone's going to like you.
totally. And it's something that resonates with a lot of people, I think, not just women. It's about taking back your power and not apologizing for who you are.
So we've talked about some individual essays, but what about the overall structure of Sucker Punch? What did you think?
The reviewer mentioned that the essays are arranged in a way that creates this kind of narrative arc,
Hmm.
starting with those more personal reflections and then moving outward to those broader social critiques.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's like she's building an argument, starting with her own experiences and then connecting them to larger systemic issues.
Exactly. And that structure makes the book really engaging and easy to follow. You feel like you're on this journey with her,
Right.
discovering things along the way.
So, to wrap up this part of our deep dive, I think it's safe to say Sucker Punch is more than just a collection of essays. It's a commentary on the human experience, a call to action,
Yeah,
and a celebration of individual voices.
I agree. And I think the reviewer was right on the money when they said that Koul's work is a gift to readers,
Those are definitely the best kind.
the ones that keep on giving. Sucker Punch is the kind of book you'll want to read again and again,
Yeah.
each time finding new layers of meaning.
Speaking of discovering new layers, are you ready to dive into part 3?
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to hear what you thought about the tyranny of choice.
Oh, yeah.
Really got me thinking.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive into Sucker Punch. You know, one thing that's really hit me throughout this whole conversation is how Koul manages to be so personal, but also universally relatable at the same time.
It's a tough balance, but yeah, she nails it. It's like she's just having you over,
Mhm.
sharing her own experiences, her vulnerabilities,
Yeah.
but in a way that makes you think about your own life too and the world around you.
It's that mix of wit, that vulnerability and the insightful social commentary. That's what makes Sucker Punch such a great read. The reviewer was spot on calling Koul's voice both refreshing and necessary.
For sure. In a literary world that, often favors certain voices and perspectives, Koul's work feels like a breath of fresh air. She's not afraid to shake things up, speak her truth, and push readers a little.
Yeah, yeah. And what's so cool is how she does it with humor,
Mhm.
which makes those tougher topics a bit easier to handle.
It's like she's saying, hey, let's talk about this important stuff, but let's not get too serious.
Right.
And that makes her work so accessible, even for people who maybe aren't familiar with the specific thing she's talking about.
I think that accessibility is key to her impact. It allows her to reach a wider audience and spark those conversations about identity, power, all the complexities of life today.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's not just preaching to the converted. It's inviting everyone in, no matter who they are or what they believe.
Okay, so The tyranny of choice. That one really got me thinking. What about you?
Oh, that was a good one. Koul's argument, about how too much choice can actually be paralyzing.
Yeah.
It really resonated with me. We're bombarded with options all the time.
Yeah.
What to watch, what to buy, even who to date. It can be so overwhelming.
Totally. Like when you're scrolling through Netflix forever
Yes.
and can't pick anything because there's just too many options.
Exactly. And Koul argues that this tyranny of choice, it can actually make us unhappy.
Yeah.
We're so focused on finding the perfect thing that we end up feeling anxious, like we're not good enough, even though we have more choices than ever.
It's like that saying, right? More isn't always better.
That's such an important point. And I love how she challenges us to rethink how we view choice, Find ways to simplify our lives without losing what truly matters.
It's about being intentional, focusing on the things that bring us joy and fulfillment, not getting caught up in trying to be perfect.
And that ties in so well with the bigger themes of Sucker Punch. It's about finding your voice, embracing who you are, and going through this complex life with purpose.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. Sucker Punch is a powerful reminder that even when the world feels crazy and overwhelming, we can still choose how we engage with it.
It's about realizing that we're not just along for the ride,
Right.
We're active participants in shaping our own lives and the world around us.
Yeah.
And Koul's work, it's like an invitation to step into that, embrace our complexities, and use our voices to create real change.
It's a call to action, but like disguised as a collection of insightful and often hilarious essays.
Exactly. And it's a call we all need to hear, especially now.
So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into Scaachi Koul's Sucker Punch. We hope this gave you a new perspective on the book and maybe inspired you to revisit some of those thought-provoking essays.
And if you haven't read Sucker Punch yet, we highly recommend it. It's a book that'll stay with you long after you've finished reading, making you question things, reflect, and engage with the world in a deeper way.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, happy reading and keep diving deep.